You got any questions you want to?
Yes, I do. Yes.
You want to dive into?
Firstly, I'd like to thank you all for all your questions. The feedback has been awesome. Snapchat and Instagram have been my biggest platforms now for the past year, and it's only getting better. So I can only thank you guys for that. I've written your questions down. I've received quite a few, so I'm going to answer as many as I can. No identities. I'm just going to plow through them. Okay. So I received a few. Basically, how important is getting into a routine? That's one I get a lot. You know, how important is turning good eating and good training into a habit that you can sustain? So firstly, that's the first thing. It has to be sustainable. It has to be something that you can do for a long period of time and actually see consistent results from. These crash diets and yo-yo diets, they work awesome for a week or two, maybe even a month if you can push it that hard. But then, you know, with every reaction comes an opposite and equal reaction, you know, so you're going to bounce back just as hard, or sometimes you rebound even more. So for me, it's finding consistency and day by day getting into good habits. Very, very important. Whether it's either training and your eating, if you can get into those habits and they don't bother you too much mentally and physically, you're going to sustain them for longer. So it's kind of finding what works for you and sticking with it. So that was a really good question I had. To be honest, some of the questions I've received, Rob's actually asked me already, so which is pretty cool.
I'll just do this on purpose.
Yeah.
I want to ask some fucking questions, otherwise there's no point in me being right, gym music.
Yes.
What do you normally listen to? And a question from me, does music play a big part in your life? Not just training, but in general.
So, answering the first one, mainly for me, it's grime, UK grime, hip-hop or trap music. I love trap music when I'm training. Okay. Something really bassy and just gets you going. That works for me. Music. So, obviously, training, music's very important. In terms of life, I don't really hold music too close to my heart because it's very easy to kind of get lost in it, in a sense. And for me, having my heart on my sleeve isn't really something I can afford to do at the moment with the all the things I've been through in the past. So for me, I try and just listen to music for pleasure, but I try not to let it affect my mood in a sense.
So are you afraid of being expressive? I think would be the best word. Because I mean, you've always been quite, I don't want to say withdrawn, but I don't think I've ever seen you to the point where you're majorly depressed or you're majorly upset or you're majorly angry. You've always seemed like a very reserved person. Why?
I think for me it's the childhood. I think that's what did it for me. It's how you're brought up as a kid. You know, I was brought up with a very strict father who, you know, you're in line all the time. Obviously, being a small kid at school with the glasses, easy target for kids to pick on. So for me, being quiet and keeping myself to myself was just an easier way of not getting hurt or pushed around, you know. So that kind of transpired slightly into my adult life in a less drastic way, in terms of I keep my thoughts to myself if need be, and I am quite quiet and reserved, and I will sometimes show my feelings, but it takes a certain time and place for that. Yeah.
So you just said about being a reserved person helped you avoid sort of getting picked on or whatever.
Yeah.
Were you bullied much in school?
Yeah, loads, man. Yeah, bullied a lot. Yeah, I think that was why I one of the reasons why I started training, actually.
Really?
Yeah, for just self-defense, protection. I was sick and tired of being a skinny kid. So that, being bullied. I got bullied for about, I think, all the way through secondary school, if I'm not going to lie to you. I think, actually, year 11, they laid off me a little bit. But literally, 7, 8, 9, 10, they were tough. It wasn't anything, drastic. But, it doesn't take much to upset a teenager nowadays. So that's it, really.
Oh, shit. That's something I never knew about you. I always thought you were going to, like, the cool kid in school.
Nah, man, far from it. Jesus, no, far from it. I see guys and girls now that I went to school with, they don't even remember me. So, that's how quiet and reserved I was. They don't have a clue who I am.
I mean, in fairness, you probably put on, 50, 60 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, I do get that one a lot. Like, shit, you're that dude? Fuck. Which is quite nice, but yeah, it just shows you how quiet I was at school.
Yeah. Do you ever speak to any of the guys that bullied you as a kid, or interact with them at all?
Slight interaction. All been positive. But not on a daily basis. No.
What's your opinion on bullies in general? Feel free to swear.
Yeah. Fuck them. No. Obviously, it's got to be stopped, doesn't it? Really, it's getting worse now. I think. I mean, back in my day, you could only get bullied if you were face to face with somebody, but now you can get bullied over WhatsApp, over Skype, over this, over that. So there's so many more avenues of which you can attack somebody now, which is awful. But I don't like it. It's a very negative and damaging thing. And it has to be stopped. Definitely.
I find it in a way like things like when you make a YouTube video or you throw up an Instagram picture or whatever. Like, it's not bullying, but when you get negative comments saying that's a shit picture, it's a shit video, whatever, I think that's more the modern day equivalent to that. And that affects you obviously when you're older, when you're really trying to make a great video, or whatever it might be, and all of a sudden you just get loads of not even constructive criticism, just a bunch of people telling you shit.
Yeah.
Like, that can really have an impact on you pursuing whatever it is that...
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree with you there. And it also impacts your confidence big time.
Yeah.
Because for you, and you would relate to this as well, you put a lot of pride into what you're doing, and you uploading a picture, let's say, that's you saying, okay, here's what I've created, and I think it's good enough for me to share with you guys. That's you opening yourself up to the world, whether it's Snapchat, Instagram, whatever your chosen platform may be. It's you saying, here's what I do, this is for your enjoyment, have a look. So when people come back at you negatively, which doesn't help you or them, unless it's constructive, it doesn't help either of you. Yeah, it could really damage someone's confidence in their own craft, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, well, now we've gone through all the deep shit. Probably jump back into a couple more deep questions later on.
Yeah.
The fuck is this?
Okay, so that, you bring it into shot if you like. I don't know if people can actually see that.
I think it's hard to miss, to be honest with you.
Okay, guys, so this...
Yeah, put it on the side.
There you go.
Oh, sorry.
It's bigger than me.
Yeah.
So this, guys, is a 6-pack bag. At the risk of being sued by this company, this is free advertising for you guys, so please leave me alone. I've had this bag for 2 years now, and I live out of this bag. It's basically storage compartment for your meals, keeps them cold, fits up to 3 meals, and then everything else goes in here. My gym kit, my protein shaker, that blue thing over there. All my kit goes in here. So yeah, it's an awesome thing to live out of, and you guys should endorse me and send me a free one of these after this.
The reason I pointed this out is because do you actually carry this everywhere you go?
Yeah, everywhere I go. I've carried it everywhere I've been for the last 2 years. Except obviously on holiday.
I don't know if there's no way obviously I can show you guys, but this is heavy as fuck.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to hit the gym anymore, mate.
No, yeah.
So what have you got in here at the moment?
So
this is all, anybody who wants to get into bodybuilding, fitness, training, etc.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is the kind of thing you want to look at if you're counting macros.
Yeah, so if you're counting macros, if you're preparing for a show, even if you're just trying to keep on top of your food, you meal prep and whatnot. I get a lot of guys that say, guys and girls that say, I haven't got the time, or if you make time to cook, this is the way you just store your food. So it's a cool little compartment. I've got some food in here now. Got ice packs, food goes in here, and it's basically just a good storage compartment for all your food and all your daily needs if you're heavy on your training and your nutrition. So yeah, 6-pack bag. If you ain't got one, get yourself one. They're about £95 just for these 3 meal one, and they do get a bit more. Yeah, they're very expensive, but at the risk of losing my endorsement, there are cheaper versions of this thing, just without the 6-pack brand. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Yeah.
It's sweet. I wouldn't pay £100, but then again, I did pay £100 for a pencil. So.
For a pencil.
All right, so there's your bag.
Yeah.
I want to jump onto fitness for a little bit.
Cool.
I kind of wanted this podcast interview to be focused on you personally, your intimate life.
Yeah.
But just to skim over things. Fitness. What other things can people do to help themselves? As in, any apps they can download? How can they force themselves into gym? Generic questions like that. Just give me a summary of all of them.
Okay, so in terms of apps, there are a ton of apps out. There's almost no need for personal trainers anymore. That's how much access people have now to fitness knowledge, be it nutrition or exercise. There are so many apps out there that will give you a workout routine, demonstrate the certain exercises you have to do, tell you what foods you have to eat.
They're all trying to put you at the job, really.
Yeah, pretty much. They've done a brilliant job of it. But so there's tons of apps out there for exercising, and there's tons of apps out there for tracking your nutrition. This is a question I've had 1,000 times. What do I use? For me, it's MyFitnessPal. It has to be said. I used to write all my stuff down on paper, and the notepads kept falling apart. You'd lose it, it would get wet, etc., etc. So having it digitally on your phone is just so much easier. So I use MyFitnessPal for food tracking. But for exercises, I don't use any apps, but there are loads out there for people. So just get on the App Store and search up. There's tons, free as well, so it's at no expense. Yeah.
Nice. So sticking with fitness, simply put, do you ever get bored of training lazy fucks, such as myself? Because there's been numerous times in the past where I've asked you to train me, help me get to whatever point, and we did really well about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But when people come to you and they say, Nibs, I'm fat, I'm lazy, whatever, I want to change, help me. So what's it like for you trying to help people that won't really help themselves? Does it get boring, monotonous?
It does get... you know what? It gets stressful more than anything, not so much boring, because I'm a very persistent person. So if somebody tells me no, I'll keep at it. Yeah. But for me, it definitely does stress me out, because people often pay me for this service and then they don't give it their all. Yeah. So, I've been close sometimes to just say to people, look, here's your money, man. Just go. You're not serious about this. Just go. So it does get very stressful sometimes when people don't want to help themselves. Yeah. And don't forget they came to me in the first place, so it must have meant enough. Yeah. But yeah.
Oh, damn, man. Well, I think we're pretty much running out of questions.
Yeah. You guys have been really, really good with the questions for sure. I'll tell you what, there are a few that I was asked actually last minute before we did this podcast. Okay. 2 very important questions aimed more at women, which is pretty cool. Okay. One of which was metabolism. How to kind of reset a metabolism that's already been damaged, or speed a metabolism up that's really slow.
I knew that one. Yeah.
So, as you all know, metabolism speed is based on a few things. Your age, your metabolic rate, and this is based on, obviously, a lot of things. Your genes, your genetic placement.
Yeah, absolutely.
If your body type.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
How active you are, and how often you eat your meals. Now, there are certain ways you can speed it up, i.e. forms of cardio you can do, meal frequency, cheat days, etc., etc. But the main focus of this was resetting your metabolism, which is a lot of people need to do because they've spent years damaging it. So it's basically been an endless struggle to try and tell people to constantly have to reset their metabolisms, right? So it's essentially dieting down to nothing and then building it back up again slowly, and your metabolism adjusts with it.
Okay.
So this is why some of you girls out there, and I only say girls because it's women that have mostly asked me this question. Oh, I'm barely eating anything, but I'm not losing any weight. It's because your metabolism has adapted to surviving on whatever you're giving it.
So that's why, like, numerous times when I've trained with you, you always say, like, you have to keep on eating.
Yeah.
Eat quite a bit, but just smaller meals.
Exactly. So, portion control, frequency. Mm-hmm. So you speed up metabolism, get it going faster and faster and faster, and you find your appetite will increase a bit more, but your composition is gonna change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Well, that seems pretty simple.
Yeah. A lot of people like to overcomplicate things, which is the unfortunate reality of the fitness industry.
What about all these like fancy diets that everybody's doing, like everybody drinking like the juice and kale, and I know there's probably a bunch of others that I don't even know about, but people just doing crazy shit to try and lose weight or whatever. What's your opinion on all that?
So, you know, you've got watermelon diet, you've got juicing, you've got keto, paleo. There's a million weird Spanish sounding names. Do you know what, man? If it works for you, then great, stick with it. But if it doesn't work for you, I mean, I get a lot of people that search, okay, I've tried this, it hasn't worked, let me try something else. Oh, let me try something else. Oh, let me not eat for 3 days. You know, these crash diets don't work. Like I said, with one of the questions in the previously, was find something sustainable that you can continue, because it's consistency where the results come in. You know, crash dieting for a week before going to the beach might work when you go to the beach, but when you come back, you might, you know, look the same or worse. You know, it's a very rare occasion where people go into these crash diets and come out the other side looking better. Or feeling better. Let's not forget, it's also a mental thing. So for me, it's finding something you can stick with physically and mentally.
There's something that I want to talk to you about that sort of I've been guilty of in the past. Whenever I go to train, obviously I've got mental conditions like depression and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to jump into all that, that's boring. But when you're stuck in that mindset of, I can't be fucked to get up, I can't be fucked to go to the gym, how do you force yourself to do that? To push past whatever is in your head telling you that you can't do it, or you just can't be bothered? Is there any tricks for that? Or is it just willpower?
Do you know what, man? It's really weird you say that. I had this conversation with somebody a few days ago. They asked me the exact same question. For me, you wake up in the morning, right? You got to do your cardio. This is for me personally. The last thing you want to do is get out of bed, especially if it's early, if it's cold, etc., etc. I'm fortunate enough to have a treadmill at home, so I can't really find an excuse to skip it. But there are times when, as you say, can't be fucked. I don't feel like doing it today. You know, we're all human. It happens. You know, you lose that fire every now and then. You know, and for me, you basically just have to try and talk to yourself. Essentially, that's what I do. So you look yourself in the mirror and just say, "Come on, just get it done. It'll be over soon. It'll be over soon," and then you do it and you realize, oh, it's actually not that bad, you know, once it's over. You know, things like cardio are really tedious as well. So it's just like, just get through it, it'll be okay. And I think that's where you need to have some form of willpower to be able to do that. Because a lot of people just say, oh, you know what, fuck this. But definitely some willpower is needed. Yeah.
So, obviously, you have to force yourself to do it. I know you love what you do and you love bodybuilding and stuff like that. But it can't be an easy ride. Going to gym every day, destroying your body, etc. So do you feel like you have to force yourself into doing it as well, regardless of feeling depressed or?
Do you know what, I don't see it as a chore. I do love it and I enjoy training a lot, which is why I've been able to do it for so long. It's more of a hobby for me. But you know, I'm only human. You do have those days where you don't really, you know, you can't really be fucked to train. So it's more about just getting yourself in there and doing the best you can on those days. And usually those are the sessions that turn out to be the best. You know, those days when you can't be bothered. You know, those are the days that count. Yeah.
Nice. So what's your experience with, we spoke a little bit about this before, about feeling depressed and everything else. And you said, you know, you got to the point before where you kind of quit work in general.
Yeah.
And you're now in a position where you're just sort of focusing on yourself for a bit, but you want to start thinking about sort of transitioning into something else in the future.
Yep.
When you were at that place in your head where you were starting to get depressed, how did you force yourself out of that?
Do you know what? It wasn't... It's a daily struggle at that point. It turns into, okay, let's take one day at a time. It's not so bad. Just go and do the things you have to do. Keep yourself busy. And day by day, it kind of just... Eventually, it faded. Luckily for me to say, you just... Yeah, take it each day as it comes. I tried not to stress too much about... about anything. Obviously, resigning from work was one thing I had to do. My health wasn't great, so competing had to stop. You know, I actually dropped out of a show in June So yeah, it is pretty much just trying to take it day by day, and kind of hope for it to fade.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if life wants to give you a break, it will eventually. So you just got to try and get through those storms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, without darkness, there is no light. So
Nice. I like that.
yeah.
How were your parents when you were going through that? Like, were they supportive?
I don't really go to. See, I don't really have that kind of relationship with my parents where I can go to them about anything.
Mm-hmm.
I go to my mum about advice with girls sometimes. That's it, really. Everything else I deal with on my own. That's the way it's been since I was a kid. You just kind of, you just kind of go through. You know, you get through it on your own, and you just try and use your own devices to get through any like setbacks or downfalls or anything like that.
Do you think that's made you a stronger person, not having that like emotional support from your parents? Not that they've just dropped you in a band.
No, yeah. I think it has, because I'm able to rely on myself a lot, and I'm not so dependent on anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like emotional, mental support, anything like that. Like I said, I'm blessed enough to be around people that understand. So I find myself going to them more than my parents, and they usually do the job just fine. So for me, I'm not just lucky to have those people. To be honest, those are the people that made me stronger.
Do you feel like sort of creating things, for me at least, like sitting down and editing a video or whatever for God knows how many hours, far too many. I feel like that makes me a better person, and it helps me deal with the shit that's going on in my own head. Do you get the same sort of thing from either being in front of the camera or just being in gym in general? Is it very cathartic?
Yeah, very. For me, training is a brilliant stress reliever.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you can come in and shut the rest of the world off and just focus on what you're doing, right now.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's kind of a new approach I've taken since being at such a low point, is to just, the only thing you can control is what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
So control it, that's the only thing you have to stress about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the gym offers me. It gives me that escapism to be able to just do what I love without anything going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Same pleasure as what a pianist gets, or a songwriter, or someone who's writing a book. Same thing. It's a chance to escape life's ugly realities and to kind of create your own. So yeah, I think it's very, very helpful. Yeah, big stress reliever.
I really like that. So, coming out of the depression and sort of fighting your way through that, what's your approach on life following that? Where do you see yourself going? Your mindset, where's it all heading now that you've sort of gone past that block?
Well,
what have you learned from it?
Oh, I learnt loads, man. I've never really been depressed, and even then, I wouldn't call it depression, because that might offend people that have actually been depressed. For me, it was just a low point. And yeah, I learnt a lot. I learnt a lot about myself. I learnt a lot about how much I was capable of dealing with in terms of stress, in terms of health problems, in terms of negative influences from external bullshit. And I learned the most valuable lesson for me to learn was to take each day as it comes, was to pretty much just live in the now,
Rather than constantly thinking about the future.
Yeah, or the past. Yeah. I mean, it rained yesterday. I'm going to sit here and cry. Why? It might rain tomorrow. Like, it's a shit analogy, but it's a simple one.
Yeah.
If I'm happy now and positive now, chances are tomorrow will be the same, and chances are the day after that will be the same, So it's just, for me, it's taking each day as it comes. Definitely helped big time. That's my biggest lesson. Yeah.
Well, I think that's something everybody can take away. Like, I think.
Hope so. Yeah.
Even for me personally, I try to always focus on the future, and I'm definitely more for planning. Like, I love knowing.
Me too. Yeah, me too. I'm very anal, same as you.
Yeah, but sometimes you can get so wrapped up in that, and you can think, oh shit, okay, well next week I've got this and this and this, but I've got the competition next week. Like what you said, and then you're starting to just go crazy over that.
Yeah, you kind of you lose yourself. Yeah. And you know what? In some cases, you lose the love for what you're doing as well, because it turns into a job or a chore because of the amount of stress you put on yourself.
Yeah.
I find personally I'm way more productive when I just take each day as it comes. Don't worry about next week. Obviously you have plans, and we all, you know, people like me and you have to have some kind of order and routine in our lives, which is fine. But in terms of, oh, you know, am I ever going to be a success? Am I ever going to, you know, sign with a supplement company? Am I ever going to get my pro card? You know, why worry? Just work now to get to that point.
Yeah.
You know, that's, for me, that's such an easy way to look at it. And I've used that in my prep. I've used that in my training. You know, oh God, it's legs tomorrow. It's legs today. Let's go and get it done, you know? Porn. Wrong choice.
Yeah. No, right choice.
No. Stop it. Get down. You need to get Gordy. Gordy, mate. Get down.